Hello and a very warm welcome to the lounge in Club at 22. This is the first of what we hope to be many monthly shows here on the podcast where we invite guests on from different areas of Rangers fan content to sit back with a drink of their choice and chat all things Rangers for the month gone by. A joining of the hands across the digital ocean, if you like. I am your host, Scott Carney, and before I introduce an absolute stellar lineup of guests for this first episode, I welcome my right-hand voice here on Club at 22, Ali Pearson.
How we doing? Good to be back again.
You don't have a choice, mate. Every time I do a podcast, I want to come on anyway. So without further ado, the first of the two guests is Rangers fan page royalty. It's Chris from Rangers on Tour. How you doing, mate?
I'm all right. How's it going? Again, what I have to keep on stressing to everybody is the fact that I am one of 4 admins on Rangers on Tour. I'm the only one that ever appears on camera. I'm the desirable face of Rangers on Tour.
You are, mate. Yes, you are.
But I am not. A lot of people seem to think that I am specifically Rangers on Tour. I was like, no. But, yes.
I initially had written down, mate, the man behind Rangers on Tour, but then you quickly told me that you're not the only man behind it. But you said just let me give you the credit anyway, mate. To be fair.
No ego here. No ego here.
And last but not least to join the party is Mr. Gallant Few himself, Colin McDuff, a man that my missus would give zero thanks to as he gave me my podcast debut. I've now started my own and now all I do is talk about my podcast. But Colin, it's an absolute pleasure to have you, mate.
No apology, no surrender. That's the more Rangers podcasts we can get out, the better. But Scott, Ali, Chris, thanks for having me on.
It's a pleasure for you to be here. As I say, we couldn't really ask for a couple of guests to kind of start this off. And this podcast really just a laid back chat, and we're just going to round up everything that's happened with Rangers over the month of February. It's been quite a month. Rangers are in a very commanding position in every way you want to look at, apart from the League Cup, but we don't mention the League Cup. We'll just start off with kind of letting you to kind of tell our listeners a bit about yourself. So, Chris, what's your name and where'd you come from?
I'm Chris. I'm from the page Rangers on Tour. Like I said, I'm one of 4 admins on Rangers on Tour. Obviously, Rangers on Tour started in 2012. I joined 3 years ago, but I've actually been a member since it initially started. It's been great. Obviously, just my background's been in marketing. So the way I've been kind of dealing with it is kind of as a kind of a marketing way of like how to kind of promote the page and build it and make it bigger than what it is. So since I've been here, we have. Obviously, the page is growing. We've got a website. We started the We Are mental health campaign. We started the YouTube channel, and we started our Instagram page. So, it's just everything's just about constantly writing about Rangers all the time, and it's no, like I said, my girlfriend's never happy because I'm always either on my phone or dealing with stuff like this. But yeah, it's good. It's good fun, and I've met a lot of really cool and interesting people.
Yeah, it's a cracking page, to be fair, and I'm not just saying that because you're on. It's I think it's easily the biggest one out there, is it not? Am I wrong? You can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I think it is.
I think it is as well, but I think because we've always kind of it's always we're never reactionary. We're always kind of like. We'll put stuff out, but we always kind of make a point of you don't single out players, don't single out the club and stuff like that. And I think that's the thing that gets you into a lot of trouble. See, when you start like having kind of a personal agendas against certain things, that's when you can get into it. Plus the fact as well is like obviously we know that the press are always watching, and so you've got to really watch what you write, what you post, what you talk about, how so it's. So we're very aware of what we're doing, and it's very kind of strategic. But yeah, just like I said, like it's been it's been so interesting in terms of like just meeting such a wide range of people from all around the world and stuff like that. Like I've got people who have messaged me who are from like I've got a boy who messaged me who's from Colombia. and he is a massive Rangers fan. He came over here and to go and travel, and obviously because of Alfredo Morelos, then just adopted Rangers as his club, and so he pure messages me all the time, and speak to people in like California, Australia, the Middle East, Africa, and then obviously your everyday fans that live in Glasgow or in the Central Belt. So it's great. It's always interesting to kind of see what everybody's perspective is.
Did he take any credit for Alfredo coming to Rangers? No.
No, but I probably think my biggest claim to fame for Alfredo was it the 2-0 game. I said I always kind of give everybody a shout out and say, can you give me a match prediction? So I've had a couple of like ex-players and stuff like that done it, and other kind of prominent YouTubers and other channels and stuff like that, and I asked him, and he done his in a little bit of English, but he spoke in Spanish. And he actually spoke directly to Alfredo Morelos. So I tagged him in, and I tagged his charity, and I tagged his missus. And actually, Alfredo Morelos got back to us. And like usually, when it comes to the first team, like you get nothing from them in terms of social media and interaction. But he messaged back, because obviously this video was in Spanish. He was like, so obviously I said to him, and he was like, "Oh, thank you, my friend. Big hug, and we are the people and stuff like that." So
that's brilliant, man.
That was pretty cool. So yeah, it's stuff. See, it's stuff like that really that I enjoy doing. It's like the everyday posting and content and stuff like that. That's just kind of the bread and butter. But it's the getting to meet people and coming on different podcasts and like kind of just. That's what I like, and you can definitely see why the club sees fan media as the way forward.
100%, mate, and it's one of the biggest reasons I'm sitting doing this podcast with you just now, man. So it's amazing, mate. Really, really cracking insight into what you do, and I'll say it now, and I'll probably say it at the end as well. But go give it a follow. Rangers on Tour, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You'll find them. Give the guys a follow. So we'll move on to Mr. Gallant Few himself, Mr. Colin McDuff. Colin, what's your name? Where'd you come from?
My name's Colin McDuff. I come for the Gallant Few.
So tell us a wee bit about what were your ideas behind the start of the Gallant Few and that, mate, and when you decided to do it.
I probably similar to yourself, Scott. I started doing a wee bit of podcasting here and there and caught the bug. I'd done a couple of shows for Heart and Hand. Dave Edgar was nice enough to let me do like one summer a 4-part Stephen Gerrard show, and then once a month I would do the Lone Rangers. And since then, like probably for about 18 months, I was on at my pals after every game, every weekend. Mo will do a podcast, Mo will be a buzz, Mo will do a podcast, and they'll tell me to fuck off basically. And it was actually during lockdown they gave in to me through boredom, and it's coming up for a year. We've been doing the Gallant Few, so once a week, usually on a Sunday, we'll just talk about everything that's happened in the world of Rangers the previous week. And you'll know yourself, Scott, being on with us, we tend to get bored and put out whatever we fancy in midweek. So next couple of months we're doing some history shows. We're really looking forward to the one on Monday. We're going to look at the 1961 Cup Winners' Cup finalist team. So stuff like that, and it's just kind of there's 5 ways to do it. So it's just kind of keep it loose and whatever. Any ideas that come for the listeners or whatever we fancy doing, we go for it.
Yeah, it's amazing, mate. As you say, you're like my sensei, mate. To be honest, you're the reason that I started a podcast, mate. So it was as soon as I started doing it with you, mate, again as well. I absolutely loved it, and then I gave Ali Pearson no choice in the matter. He was doing the podcast with me, so he's come along for the journey. But yeah, I mean, the podcast is great, everybody. I mean, obviously, I'm going to say that I'm not going to tell Colin that I think it's shite or anything, and I generally don't think it's shite. But it's good. The lads are brilliant. The Sunday shows are great. His ideas for the other shows are brilliant as well. And go give them a follow. The Gallant Few, anywhere you get your podcast, you'll be able to find them. So, gentlemen, introductions out the way. Ali, you don't want to say anything about yourself. People know who you are if they're listening to this podcast, don't they?
Aye, folk know I'm a prick, so it's all right.
Yeah. So we'll jump into the month gone by for Rangers. So we'll start on the kind of SPL stuff stuff, really. It's been a good month, really. If you'd have said at the end of the month we'd still be unbeaten, I would have bit your hand off for it. So we kind of started off the start of the month with a Rangers kind of entered into February really not in the. We were in form in the fact that we were winning games, but we're not really in the kind of free flowing scoring Rangers that we'd come to expect. And we kind of started off with St Johnstone at Ibrox. That was right at the start of February, and it was the Hadji that made the difference that day. But again, Ali, are you disappointed? Well, obviously you're not disappointed, but were you disappointed at the performances back then? Do you think Rangers needed to do more?
No, because we all get told, I know we're talking about January here, but we all get told when Rangers hit January, apparently we were going to self-destruct once again. This is what Celtic were clinging on to. I would have been quite happy having 1-0s all the way into the season, to be honest. That's how you win titles. I mean, all of us have grown up around Walter Smith. I mean, you see how you see how we played football back then. I mean, it's nothing like how we watch Rangers now. I mean, Rangers now are a proper footballing team. They're good to watch. You're going to have these rough patches, but that's what winning titles is about, to be honest. Grinding these 1-0 wins out, and a lot of them, you can say it was 1-0, but if you actually watch the game back, a lot of them should have been 2-3-0s, to be honest. And it's the way these teams set up. And by then, they twigged on Tab and Barisic as our main weapons coming down the side, and they restricted that a wee bit, a lot of these teams. So I know we moan about Rangers in the last 4, 5, 6 weeks, and it takes 20 minutes to sort of get going. But I think it's really Rangers figuring out the opposition, what they're doing. And then once we figure it out, we tend to unlock the puzzle, to be honest.
Yeah. I love how you say things as if you're a pure, like, you're a calm man when it comes to about football and stuff. Honestly, if I could share the stuff that Ali sends me during a match, honest man, you would think we were getting beat at points. I'm like, Ali, mate, we're 2-0 up, mate. We need a third. We need to get a third so I can relax and enjoy the last half an hour. It's all right.
No, do you know the problem? The problem is this season is so massive, and I've said it before, it'll be the biggest title in my lifetime for me. And we've always said this bloody scar tissue thing. I mean, you always had that wee doubt in the back of your head that they could self-destruct Rangers. So, and I never thought they would, to be honest, watching Rangers. They're different this year, Rangers, but you've always got that wee doubt. And I think it always goes back to previous seasons because we're not used to doing this all the time under this team. But
yeah, that's true.
That's why I'm shitting myself all the time.
Yeah, I get it, mate. We've raved on about it. I don't know how long, and the scar tissue is something it's in the back of your head. But Chris, I'll come to you, mate. So obviously we speak about Rangers grinding out the kind of 1-0s and not playing high flying football. You're a tad older than me, mate, and you've seen Walter Smith. You've seen 9 in a row. Rangers didn't go every game of a league, winning every game and not dropping points in that. So Ali's probably right, mate. They grinded out 1-0, so I'll take that for the rest of the season, no bother.
I think the fact is you've got to take the words of Walter Smith's good friend, Alex Ferguson. You know, strikers win you games, defenders win you leagues. Yeah. And that's what it's about. You know, and I think because we live in this social media age where everybody, the moment is a result, like, again, you know, I follow a lot of different pages, and once you start talking to people and you can figure out how old they are, you understand their reaction to things. Whereas, like, I keep on saying to people, like, I remember going to Aberdeen, Dundee away, Dunfermline away and stuff like that, and in the back of your head you're going, 1-0. I'm quite happy with a 1-0, and I don't care if we stink the place out. It's about 3 points at this time of the year. I think obviously as well is like I'm in a group chat. Well, I'm in a group chat with the boys on the page, but I'm on a group chat with the boys from True Blue Loyal as well. And again, I'm always like my thing is you can always get a sense within the first 5-10 minutes of how the team's playing, of whether or not you're at it or you're not. And I think that even these games at 1-0s, just watching the structure of the team, the build-up play, how everybody knows what they're supposed to do, what they're supposed to do, and how, like, the whole, you know, recycling the ball and stuff like that. Like, this is this has been an evolution, a 3-year evolution to get us to this point. Obviously, would have loved it if we'd have just right out of the gate, Gerrard smashed it and we won in the first season. But I think I'm a strong believer of you find out more about people when you put them under pressure than you start winning. And I think that's clearly obvious what's happening on the other side of the city. You've got a team that's had nothing but unmitigated success. And the first time they've really, really, really been put under pressure, they've collapsed. And I think that's the difference between us and them this season. The fact is that we're not scared of anybody. There's nobody we're afraid of. Like we could go out and we'll play the exact same way against Ross County, the same way we'll play against Benfica. You know, that's and that's it. And that's it. And I think the fact is, like, obviously the first couple of seasons you're sitting there looking at going, oh, but then look at Gerrard and this and that. And I think the fact is, for his first couple of seasons, I think a lot of players were very intimidated by Gerrard. So I think now they realise that he really, really trusts them. And I think the fact is, when you've got a guy who's not only just a good football player, a generational football player, can turn around to you and say, you're a really good football player, the sky's the limit. The sky's the absolute limit for you.
Yeah, you made the point, mate, that defenders win you leagues. Alan McGregor wins you the Europa League. So you heard it here first, everybody. Alan McGregor's going to win us the Europa League, I'm telling you. But no, I mean, you're 100% right, mate. And I think the different reports that you hear from people that have had kind of close interactions with Gerrard and stuff, again, obviously I'll name drop David Egger from Heart and Hand, but he said before he's got the aura. He's got the aura around him. When he walks into a room, everybody takes notice that he's walked into a room, and that's the kind of manager that Rangers deserve. That's the kind of manager that Rangers need to have. That man where he's the guy we all look to take us the way we want to go, and I think it's massively important. I mean, I'm intimidated by Steven Gerrard even when I watch him in an interview. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, it's like I've loved Steven Gerrard for years. Before Rangers days, in his time at Liverpool and stuff, I've been a massive fan, and I'm a huge Gerrard fanboy, and I don't hide it. I really am, but I'm a ball hair away from getting a Steven Gerrard tattoo in my face. By the way, like I'm close. I'm not far away from doing it. So, Colin, are you kind of in agreement with obviously what we've been kind of speaking about, that you'll take a kind of 1-0 win for the rest of the season?
I was just thinking there, see if in like 10 years' time and we're doing the lounge and we're reviewing back the season of 55, we're going to look at all these 1-0 wins and scraping through games, and it's going to be, we're going to talk about character. We're going to talk about that this like league winning team just having belief that they can get it done anyway. Apart from Dundee United, I've not enjoyed the league game since December. I've hated every minute of it. I really have. I know in my heart of hearts that when I look back at this season, it's going to, everything's, you know, when you take the emotion out of it, it does look better. When you take the emotion out of it, like the games against that we're going to come on to, like St Johnstone, Kilmarnock, Rangers didn't really look too much in trouble. But when you're watching it, I just can't enjoy it. But what Ali said there is that Scarta issue. I remember Walter Smith last season, and Rangers would play fairly well for the first 55 minutes every game at Ibrox, then just down tools at 2-0, and it was horrible watching. But you never once thought that they were going to drop points. You had that belief because they'd been there and done it, and it's just because of the Scarta issue the last few seasons. So 3 games time, I'll start enjoying the football, but right now I'm an absolute wreck every game.
Again, mate, we're all pretty much in the same boat, I think, and it's. I tend to not, during a match, I tend not to get too bad. It's more before the match that it proper hits me. I think even obviously since we've started doing the podcast, you kind of watch a game differently as well, because you've got to look at a lot more than what you usually do, Colin. You'll know yourself that for making the kind of the shows that we plan to do as well on the network, you look at a game differently. So a lot of the time the emotion's still running through you, but you're more concentrating as well on, okay, what just happened there, what just happened there. I still celebrate, I still go fucking mental when Rangers score, don't get me wrong, like, still go ballistic, and then I've got to spend 2 minutes frantically writing something down during a replay of a goal, so I'm like, oh, I've missed that, and I need to quickly write something down, but I'm still a fan, I'm of course I am, and it comes first, the emotion of it all comes first, but yeah, you're probably right, mate. I mean, I'm kind of glad lockdowns happened, to be honest, because it means I don't need to sit with Ali and watch football, because he's a hard man to sit and watch football with, to be honest. You end up deaf on one side. One ear's definitely deaf because Ali shouts as if he's at the game. Remember when your dad used to shout at the telly? It's like Ali is the definition of that, man. He shouts at the telly constantly. Yeah, your neighbours probably do hate you, mate. They probably hate me as well, mate, from the times we've had at yours, to be honest. But yeah, again, everything that we spoke about is probably true. The real character of this team definitely came out this month. It definitely, especially after the kind of next game that we come to, and it was the one each draw with Hamilton, which is arguably the worst performance of the season, including the St Mirren game. We were awful, and I don't think anybody can say anything different from that. It was not the Rangers that we've kind of come to expect, and especially under Gerrard, and especially this season, some of the football's been outstanding. So, Chris, I'll come to you first on this. Were you a wee bit shaky on the Hamilton game, or were you thinking this is just nothing, we'll get past it, we'll move on?
Again, I can see teams how like they set up, and you can tell that everything that we do has been methodically planned out from the training ground, and sometimes the games just don't go your way, and I think that's the thing. I think that's the thing, is obviously like this. Obviously, at the start of the season, or the press were all banging on about 10 in a row, 10 in a row, 10 in a row. In my mind, it's never been about 10 in a row. It's always been about us winning 55. Like every season since we came back into the top flight, it's always been about winning the league. And obviously, like, you read that the interview with Mark Warburton about the first game against Hamilton at home, and the big, we're going for 55 and blah 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 blah, and he was like, "Oh no, I thought that was terrible. The fans done this," but this is the difference between being at other clubs. Everybody wants to go and play for Rangers or Celtic or Manchester United or Chelsea or Liverpool. It's the expectation that will destroy you as a football player, and that's the thing. It's like pure. Like there are teams that'll be quite happy to finish mid-table. There will be teams that don't. They'll be quite happy to not get relegated. Whereas if you're a fan of Rangers Football Club, you look at the draw, and there's 38 games in the season, and you look at it and go, "Yeah, we're going to win 38 games." Like there isn't even a contemplation of a draw or dropping points. Everyone's like, "No, we're going to win every game here." So I think that. I think a lot of times, especially with social media, everything's all hyped up, and it's a kind of a weird echo chamber of emotions that people like. That if you look at it, everybody's all on edge, and I think there's a large part of the fan base that just want to get it done. I want it done. I want it finished. I want to get this trophy over and done with, and that's it. It's finished. But you've got to kind of just embrace it. You've got to. That this is the thing. It's like I want to see is there's obviously we'll talk about this later on, but the game against Dundee United, Gerrard came out and said that there was a situation and the players figured it out themselves, and that's what you want. You don't like. There's only so much that the coaches and the manager can do once the players cross that white line, and that's what we've got now. We've got a bunch of players who know exactly what's expected of them, what they need to do. And they'll just keep going. And sometimes you will have those games that, it's just no your day.
But, mate, again, obviously at the time, and I'm very much the same, where I'm like, a draw's a disaster. You're a Rangers fan. Everybody, as soon as Rangers drop points, it's a disaster. Oh my God, Rangers have dropped points. Everybody goes off on one. It's a draw away against Hamilton. Okay, it's not the worst result. I mean, in terms of where Hamilton were sitting in the league, they were sitting bottom, but they're trying their hardest to survive. And Rangers is a cup final. Rangers are coming to town. It's their cup final. They want to stop the run that Rangers are on. And looking back on it now, mate, it has obviously just been one of them games. But it was all just magnified. And again, it probably all just jumps back to how desperate we all are as well. And it's quite easy for us all just to go, oh no, it's a draw, that's it. And but I mean, we've obviously been helped by the absolute shark throwing meltdown that's happened. I mean, they've obviously, that's a whole podcast in itself talking about what they've been through, and I'll never do one on it, to be honest. But I'm very cautious of this year. I don't want any of the focus to be on them. The focus of this year has to be on Rangers, because we haven't just been good and they've been bad. We have been fucking tremendous and they've been bad. They don't really come into the equation.
That's what Brian Laudrup said in his article. Says that the biggest problem with this season is that so many people are going to focus on the crash of Celtic, more so the consistent professionalism of Rangers. But yeah, it's just you've got to you'll sit like you'll look back at the DVDs and stuff like that of old seasons and stuff like that. You'll look at all the old players and stuff like that, and like every time Jorg Albertz touched the ball, he was amazing. Every time Gaza touched the ball. Honestly, go back and watch those games in full. Even Old Firm games, you go and watch those games, and some of the defensive errors we make, the passing, the position and stuff like that. You know, it's like, but because of nostalgia, we've built these guys up in our head like pure. Every time these guys walked on the pitch, they just obliterated everybody, and that's not the case. And obviously, you're putting a lot of pressure on the players they've got now, because they're kind of like, you're never going to be Lorenzo Amoruso. You're never going to be Paul Gascoigne. You're never going to be Ali McCoist. But the fact is that, you know, Gerrard's got his side, and this team he's taking this time. He's getting rid of the players he doesn't want. He's brought in the players he does want, and everybody's all working to a main goal. And also the fact is, I think a lot of people need to remember about this season is COVID has decimated football clubs. So there's football getting relegated this season isn't just we get relegated. Any team that drops out of this top league and goes down to the Championship financially, like obviously Hearts are okay because Hearts are bankrolled by a wealthy investor, but you know, like Hamilton don't have that. So if Hamilton go down, at this time of the year, everybody's fighting for their life, and all these teams want to finish in the top half of the league or stay in the league. So you're not going to get any easy games, you know. So it's not going to be that way. I would love to turn up and watch the games and roll teams over 3-4-5-0 every week, but they've got an objective that's in their mind that is just as prevalent as ours. And yes, for them to get that point or whatever, then that's good for them. You know, look, Hamilton got a draw against us, and it was the last home game for 4 home games, and you know they went and beat Motherwell in the derby, and you know so you know that kicked them on.
Yeah, it definitely did. So you're right, mate. As I say, it is, and again, it kind of goes back to the point as well that Rangers is everybody's cup final, and it's definitely not a disaster in the grand scale of things. Colin, we'll move on to the next game. We'll obviously don't want to spend too much time on the kind of disappointing result of the month, if you like. Not that it was that bad, to be honest, but we'll move on to Rangers v Kilmarnock at Ibrox and the Ryan Jack wonder goal. Jacko comes back like he's not missed a beat, mate, and slots into the team like he's never left.
Scott, see my notes in this, and I tried to do my homework, Chris, but the only note I've got under this game is Ryan Jack. So I've got. What more can you say? No, this has gone back to my earlier point. See, at the cold light of day, I was nervous watching this game, and I was like, "Come on!" I wanted a reaction after Hamilton. Going back and rewatching the game afterwards, we were so comfortable in this game, and you know, I think we did get a reaction to Hamilton. The Hamilton result, I thought we were due dropping points because we weren't good for a couple of months, but we put in a performance against Kilmarnock, I think, and it's kind of fitting that we only won 1-0 because the only goal of the game was it's the only thing worth talking about. Really, it absolutely deserves to steal the headlines. I remember we were talking about in the pod about this. Ryan Jack, like, I wouldn't trust Ryan Jack to hit a penalty target when he first signed for Rangers. He wasn't renowned for his shooting. I don't think he was renowned for his passing. I think it was McAdam that texted me said that when we first signed him, didn't think he could kick the ball 10 yards. But that is just what a terrific finish. What I love about this, see, as soon as the ball comes out, before he even touches it, he knows what he's doing. He positions his body to take the touch, and then he's already swivelling round to try and volley it. That's just, and Chris, I think it might have been you that said it earlier about players having the belief when somebody like Steven Gerrard has the belief in you. Ryan Jack doesn't try that if he doesn't have the utmost confidence in his ability, and that's instilled by Steven Gerrard. And we'll come on to it in the next couple of games as well. It's good to see us finally shooting from outside the box. How many times the last 3 years have Rangers just went for the left-hand side of the 18-yard box, passed it 5 times over the other 18-yard box, kicked over to Jimmy Bell and then back again, and just the absolute refusal to shoot for anywhere outside the 6-yard box. It's good that, you know, there's a bit of garrulousness, there's a bit of belief in the ability, and delighted for Ryan Jack to return like that. And I think it's unfair just to focus on that. Ryan Jack was really good that game. It was a really good performance, and that really cemented how much we missed him the last few months.
Oh,
unfortunately
definitely.
for him, it was the 3rd best goal of the season.
I know. How mad is that? Any other year than this, we're already giving him the trophy, but there's so many contenders.
Jermaine Defoe's goal against Livingston.
Oh man! Oh, what a goal! Honestly, every time you see that goal back, it's just unbelievable. It's class beyond anything else, man. Like you might lose it in the legs, but you don't lose it in the brain. Really, it's that's tremendous. Is that your goal of the season, Cash?
No. I think that what they'll do at the end of the season, they'll obviously give Kamar Roof the goal of the season. But I think what they'll do is they'll probably create an award for like league goal of the season. But at the same time, I'm a huge fan of Ryan Jack's goal against Ross County with 19 passes. And also, I'm a huge fan of Kamara's goal against St Johnstone. That past Maribo and how Kamara didn't even like break his stride. He didn't batter the ball. He literally just guided it into the back of the net. It was just such a silky goal. But that's the thing I think it's going to be. I think that's at the end of the season going to be even more so, because obviously after the Antwerp game, there's big calls for Alfredo to get the FIFA Fair Play Award. And I think the fact is between Celtic and the Scottish press, the fact is that if Kamar Roof wins goal of the season and Alfredo Morelos wins Sportsman of the season, that's it.
That'd be brilliant. That'd be Shitehauser in the top order. That from us, that really would. I would say even the 3rd goal last night as well by Rangers, and the Ryan Kent goal. Oh, that move. We'll come on to that. I'll leave that now. We'll come on to that. So we'll move on to the Dundee United game before we jump into Europe. Ali 4-1 at Ibrox. Back to winning with a bit of aplomb, if you like. And the Joe Aribo show really kicks into gear.
Yeah, I've blown smoke up Joe Aribo's arse for God knows how many weeks. Joe Aribo, I think when he's on his game, Joe Aribo, I think he's unplayable for such a big guy. He's got such a great touch, the way he can drop a shoulder, he beat a guy. I just wish he would shoot more sometimes, because he's got it in his locker. He's scored a couple of goals similar to that previously, and I think he said himself that he's been told he needs to shoot more. In fact, he said that goal he scored against Dundee United, he said he was out practicing. So, no, he was outstanding that game. And it was, I said, I hope Europe, the return of Europe, would kickstart Rangers again. And that was coming into starting in Europe and stuff. So, and they did. They scored 4 goals, Rangers. I mean, previously we'd been winning. Was there a stat kicking about the last 5 home games before that? Something we'd won, was it 1-0 or something? It was something like that. So we weren't scoring many goals, and to actually give a bit of credit to Dundee United. I mean, I said on our pod I would give credit to Dundee United. I thought they came and actually tried to have a go at Rangers and play football. rather than Kilmarnock came, sat back, didn't really offer much apart from maybe the last 20 minutes because it's 1-0 like these teams do. So I said when Dundee United came, I says this will suit Rangers because the way they're not set up, Dundee United, the way Mickey Mellon plays, they're not set up to sit in like say Kilmarnock's, these other teams are just sitting against us. And it kind of played that way. It was very similar to the first home game we played Dundee United where it was 4-0. And again, the first 15 20 minutes, they pressed us really high up the park and did quite well. But once we get that goal in front of them, it knocks the stuffing out of them. And obviously we went on to win by quite a few. And obviously Alan McGregor helped us out that day too. But no, I thought it was a really good performance for Rangers and Joe Aribo in particular. I mean, I like him in the front three. I know a lot of guys like him in the midfield three because he's deeper, he can then drive with a ball from deeper. I think we shoehorn him into the midfield three because Haji's come on to such a game now that he needs to play up in the front three now. So me personally, I prefer Joe Aribo in the front three, but I see why Gerrard does it. He's kind of said we play him slightly deeper to put a Haji in because that's what Joe Aribo would usually kind of play on the right hand side. And I think Haji, to be honest, just talking about Haji there, since just before Christmas where he appeared, he was so far out of the picture at Rangers at one point, and fair play to the boy, he's come right back in and he's made himself undroppable again, Haji. But no, it was a great game, that one, and yeah, we'll obviously come on to how Rangers have played after that, but starting to score goals was a positive for me.
Definitely, mate. I think the Joe Aribo and even Gerrard in his comments after it said that Aribo's back now and he's back to like being 100%. And there was a press conference as well. I think it was before the Antwerp game where Aribo said himself that he'd obviously struggled a wee bit coming back from injury at the time and kind of mentally didn't really know how to cope with it. And Gerrard had spoke to him and said, look, he's been there, he's been through this, he knows what it's going to be, but just take your time, be patient, and it'll come back. Joe Aribo's a very special player. To me, I think there's little men I've seen, and I'm talking the whole time that I've watched Rangers, that can control a ball and manipulate a ball the way that he does, and the way that it's Velcro feet. Do you know what I mean? It's stuck to his feet. Doesn't matter how many players in front of him. He really is a great talent, and he's kicked on something amazing for us, really, to be honest. And he's really shown his true potential. I think, in terms of him in the front three and the midfield three, I'm not fussed either way. 100% get that Haji's also come onto a game, and I'm glad of that. And Haji, I think, I'll not be around the bush. I think everybody in this team pretty much is bought into the cause now. I think everybody realises what it's about. They realise what the philosophy of football Gerrard and the team are trying to get across to them, and we've built something that everybody in that team knows what to do, knows where to be, knows how we're going to play, knows when we're going to press, when we're not going to press, etc., etc. And I'll agree with people in the press that are saying it. It doesn't matter who's in that team. They know what that role is. Doesn't matter if they're playing the left-hand side of the midfield, the right-hand side of the midfield, the deep liar in the midfield, in the front three. It doesn't matter where they are. Every single person is aware of their job, and we're so well drilled as a football team. I mean, it's just like, obviously the coaching staff, and we've heard rumours about as Michael Beale was coming, how good he was, and how much people he's got so much praise behind him. He's coming with a lot of kind of big hype around him, and he's only went and proved himself right. To be honest, I think the way Rangers play football is really pleasing, and when it clicks and it works, it's tremendous to watch. So, gentlemen,
see on that
carry
point,
on, Colin. No,
that's I find that's absolutely massive, because that's from the first team all the way down to the youth development, the women's setup. That's absolutely a club philosophy now. That's not just this season, and that's why it's so important. This is something that's got to be with the club when Gerrard moves on, when Michael Beale moves on. That this has been 3, 4, 5 years in the making, and that's what the board wanted to put in place when they first tear in. You know, speaking to my best pal Dave King a few weeks ago, but that's what he said, that like when
you had to get that in there, mate, didn't you? You had to get that in there,
mate. Did you not get the memo? I'm only coming on unless I tell you about it. Yeah, but that's something that's really important to remember. Like, we've been building not just to not just to win the league title once and then allow Celtic to go and try and dominate again. We've been, we've put this in place from top to bottom, and that's no coincidence. That doesn't just happen over a season where you can play Kemar Roof or Hadji or Rebo all on the right hand side. That doesn't just happen over a season where you can play any 6 midfielders in the midfield and they all know. It's not quite the Dutch total football, but that's it feels like a proper football club. It doesn't just feel like, and I don't want to get ahead of myself, it doesn't feel like a one season assault. It feels like we're actually, but you can see the foundations that they were taught about with like Ross Wilson and stuff as well.
You're spot on, mate, and I think your best pal Dave King, mate, has said it, and it's the saying that's circling everywhere. It's like the pack of cards, mate, and it's what's happened to them, and he fully believes that we'll kick on and be successful for a number of years to come, and it's hard to disagree with him. Again, without spending too much time talking about them, they've got a massive job in their hands to try and rebuild this. If Rangers recruit again well in the summer, and I expect a lot of players to go out, I think Rangers have to obviously balance things out, weigh things out the way the club's obviously being run. It's obviously the model that we're going on, and I totally respect that. But if we get our recruitment right, and I've got no doubt that we will, because I fully trust in what Gerrard and Ross Wilson are doing, then yeah, they've got a lot to try and catch up with us. And the blue tsunami's been coming for a while, and it's finally arriving, and we're about to turn Scotland blue again. Thank fuck. It's been a long 10 years. But we're glad to be back. So we'll move on to the Europa League, gentlemen, and fucking hell, these 2 games are something to talk about, are they not? So obviously the first leg was away against Antwerp in the last 32. This game had VAR decisions, ref decisions, their keeper. Again, this really a podcast in its own, their keeper. The 7 minutes of terror at the end of the first half, the terrible penalty decision, Taven Roof getting injured, Rangers coming from behind to win, Kent finding his shooting boots. I mean, where do we start with this one, Chris? Where are we going to start with the first leg of the Europa League?
Well, the big thing about that game is that you're in the last 32 of a knockout tournament, so everybody's there to win. Like you'll have teams that go into the Champions League in Europa and they're just quite happy to be there. So obviously, Gerrard's got a mindset of we're going to do better every season, and that's so the first to go from the first round to the group stage in his first season. Was it only 7 teams have ever done that? And then he does it in the 2 years in a bounce, and then that season he goes to the last 16 as well. So he's definitely kind of set a challenge to his players and a demand and an expectation to them. I think, again, watching that game, I think that some of the refereeing decisions in that first game was absolutely, I don't know what was going on. I think he won a competition to be a referee.
Aye, ludicrous decisions, some of them, mate.
But at the same time, like you said there as well, like Tab going off and Roof going off and stuff like that. Like if you were any other team in British football to turn around and say, "Oh, you're going to lose your captain, you're going to lose your midfield engine player, and you're going to lose probably one of your best in-box strikers," but we still go out and won 5-2. There's what other team out there is going to turn around and go, right, okay, we've lost Ryan Jack, but okay, we'll still get these guys and we can still put these guys here together. But absolutely huge respect for Leon Balogun. Obviously, he can play right back, but he's more suited to playing in the middle beside Goldson. But I thought he's put an absolute shift in for us, and I think that's the difference. As the fact is that a lot of managers put square pegs in round holes, and obviously we'll hark back to Walter Smith, and that's what Walter Smith used to do. Walter Smith used to get players who were out of the team for months and get a big game at them, or turn around and say somebody, right, see today, I need you to play left back, and they'd do it. Yeah, and that is the big difference, and I think that. I think the fact is that obviously there will be fans who will be, with guys like Aribo and Hadji and Kent, and they'll be like, oh, they're not doing this, not doing that. But they're the moment players. They're the players that are going to turn something out of absolutely nothing. So that you're not going to get 90 minutes of them. And again, we look back at it. did you think Ronald de Boer's going to be chasing back, to clear the ball off the line? No. Was Gabriel Amato that guy? No, he wasn't.
No.
But Paul Gascoigne wasn't that guy. Brian Laudrup wasn't that guy. These were the guys. Like we had Hadji's that guy that will try, and he's got so much confidence in his ability. He's willing to try anything. Plus, the fact as well is he's a guy. He's not only just joined a big football club in Rangers, like he's got the biggest of big shadows.
Aye.
Like any player could possibly like his dad was phenomenal.
Tremendous,
absolutely
he was.
Phenomenal football player. So I think that him being at Rangers is the absolute right atmosphere for him to be at. He's getting trained by guys who know how to get the best out of him. Same with him, same with Ryan Kent, same with Joe Aribo. That's what we're going to get. That these guys know, and everybody knows their job. Look at Morelos last season, scoring goals, and then his form dropped off. This season, he's just been an absolute terror all season. But I'm a belief as well, like we're saying about the 1-0 games. I think that the whole COVID thing has really worked out for us because, we've all been to Ibrox at times, and the grumblers are very quick. Whereas, like I said, I'll watch the games, and obviously people in the group chat and they're all freaking out and we're playing terrible. But you're watching the game and going, no, we're going to get a goal here or something's going to happen here. But you'll go to those games. You can imagine that game against Dundee United, the first 10, 15 minutes, the place would have been full of people just screaming their nut off, and it's just like, don't worry about it. We've got this. We'll figure it out, And I think that's the big thing. That's the big thing. And I think obviously this team, once they cross that line, once they get over the finish line, get that league, and then if people do get back into the stadium, then it'll be like, oh, good, now we get to entertain people.
Yeah. You're. I think the lack of crowd makes it's a big talking point, to be honest, because there is a lot of grumblers at Ibrox. I mean, I think we all go to Ibrox, so we know what it's like, and it can be horrible sometimes. And I've heard some people round about me after 10 minutes we've not scored and they're going off their nut, and every stray pass or anything is kind of jumped on, and it obviously shouldn't be like that. It's not the way we should be. Try to support this team and try to make sure that they're pushing in the right direction. So yeah, it probably has helped in a lot of ways. And you're right, especially the start of even the 1-0 games at Ibrox and that, mate. But there's going to have been people that were going off their nut about it and going off their heads. I'm very much just win the game, and that's enough for me, especially in the league in terms of that. But Ali, we'll jump back onto the Europe game. So the 3-4, the 3-4 game, if you like, in Belgium. One of the craziest European matches you've ever seen.
Oh, it's way up there. I mean, I've told you for day one, Rangers will kill me one day, just with my heart rate. And I thought that night, it was going to be that night. That would be me, and I'd miss out in 55 and Everton. But it was, no, I mean, like Chris says, I mean, the referee, we had VAR as well. We had VAR in it as well. I mean, the first half, I mean, we, in our pod, we said VAR must have been switched off the first half because there was a clear penalty after a couple of minutes, and then the penalty against Davis was extremely soft, and the refereeing display was woeful, to be honest. But it was just one of these crazy games, to be honest. But I mean, we've seen a couple of crazy games with Rangers in Europe over the last couple of years. I mean, you can look back to Braga, Ibrox, when we were 2-0 down and out, and everyone thought, oh Christ, and they could have won by about 3 or 4 at one point, Braga. I mean, they had us right in the ropes, and we come back. You can look back to Benfica this season. There's Spartak Moscow the year before, and we should have won that and lost it. So there's been a few kind of mad games, but no, I mean, for a neutral, that game must have been a brilliant game to watch. For us, it wasn't the best to watch, but to me, it defined Rangers this season. It showed character. This Rangers team has a lot of character. When they go behind, which isn't very often, to be honest, they come back and show what they're all about. And that Rangers team probably went in 2-1 down, Gerrard probably said to him, "You're better than this team," and they are better than Antwerp. I thought Antwerp were decent, but we've played a hell of a lot better teams in Europe. And he's probably said to them, "You're better than them. Go out and show them." And they were kicked. They were 2-1 down, 3-2 down, still came back, and it just shows what this Rangers team's about this season and why they will win the league this season. I know we always harp on about last year and the scar tissue and that, but this is the reason why this Rangers team isn't. They're not going to fall away this season. They've been absolutely outstanding, and I mean, you'll come on to the game last night, but to win 4-3 away in Europe, 4 away goals, I know the defending at times isn't great, but it was just the way that game was. It was so open, but good game of football. Wasn't great for the old ticker, but yeah, I was just happy with the character Rangers showed.
I can agree more, mate. That put me through the mill, that game. I'm not going to lie. By the end of it, I was exhausted. And then we done the podcast straight after it, and I was done in, man. But I was that way, that I was done in after I'd finished done everything. I went down, lay down in bed, and just stared at the ceiling, just because like the adrenaline that was going through you. Do you know what I mean? I was like, oh. And then in my head, I was going, we've came from behind twice in the Europa League away. In Belgium, we scored 4 goals, 4 away goals. I mean, this doesn't happen. This is not something that we're used to. But the character is huge by Rangers, and again,
well, sorry, Karen. I mean, look back to Walter Smith in Europe. I mean, look back to our run to the UEFA Cup final. How many times did we get 0-0 draws and
away in that? Yeah.
It was horrible to watch, to be honest. I mean, it was a horrible run to Manchester. I mean, I remember at Ibrox all the time, and it was bloody 0-0s, and you nick a goal away from home, or it's a complete opposite of what we're used to watching growing up with Rangers in Europe. A complete flip, and I mean, in terms of Europe, I mean, teams will not want to play Rangers. They won't want to play. I mean, there was a video of what you call them, Sparta Prague. Apparently, they're playing. I don't know what it was today. I don't know if they were celebrating getting Rangers or whatever. But nobody would want Rangers at all. Not even your big teams. Man United's, AC Milan's, if they'd got us, they wouldn't have wanted us because we're a different animal in Europe. It turns Rangers on Europe, to be honest.
What, sexually, you mean?
Aye, both. Aye.
Turns me on as well.
I know.
I get that. That's fair dues.
It was an absolutely insane game of football. It really was. But Ali, you've just said there that the Rangers will win the league this season. I think that's the first time you said this on a podcast, mate. Yeah, I think it is. I don't think you've said it before. Ali's been one of the ones. I'm not saying it yet.
No, I've been like Colin, to be honest, because all these games I'm watching, I'm fucking shite myself as well. It's because you're so close to it, you can just about touch it, but. No, 18 points. It's 100%.
Oh, it's done. There's no doubt about it. We said it today, mate. We were out a walk today. I said the same. I said it's done, man. Like there's no chance of it. There's no chance Rangers not doing this. So we'll move on to last night. Thursday night, if you like, the second leg of the Europa League. Colin, I'll come to you. Before the game even kicked off, there was controversy right from the start, obviously, with the COVID-3, if you like, not the 5, but the COVID-3 making an appearance on the bench. Now, I don't think there's any Rangers fan in the world, and I'd be shocked if there is one that said they saw this happening last night. I was not jaw to the floor, but I thought, this is a big call from Gerrard. Do you not think?
No, totally agree with you. Everybody is being honest, and they'll go back and say yesterday, like looking back, didn't they see that happening? Where I think I'm maybe going to get a bit of stick here is, was it the right call or not? I know Nathan Patterson went on and got us a goal. I'll be honest, I was quite disappointed to see they go back in straight away. I'll put my cards on the table. I think Jones and Edmondson were almost villainised by the media and some of their own fans, and there wasn't quite the public acknowledgement for the club straight away, and then they've been loaned out. So there's every argument that was always the plan for Jones and Edmondson to be loaned out for whatever reason, but it just feels that it's a bit different for these 3 players, and if anything, I think they 3 and the other 2 is worse, because you can almost put Jones and Edmondson down to an error of judgment in a new situation, new pandemic. These guys have seen what happened to people who break the rules, and they still went and done it. So unless I'm absolutely missing something, then I'm like you, so I'm a massive Gerrard fanboy, and I hate when he gives that look to annoy journalists at the press conferences. It terrifies me. So it terrifies me the thought of just he's never going to listen to this, I don't think, but it's still I'm shaking myself just.
You never know, mate. You never know. You never know.
Saying publicly, I disagree with it. I was quite disappointed to see the three of them they three were back in the bench.
Me and Ali had we've got Scotia obviously that does the podcast with us as well, and Scotia's definitely the more pragmatic of the three of us. Me and Ali were very much. Ali was sacking every one of them. I wasn't quite as far along as sacking the three, but I didn't expect to see them this season. I honestly didn't. I didn't think they would be allowed the opportunity to do it. Chris, are you letting bygones be bygones here and trusting in Gerrard's decision? Obviously, it's good with hindsight knowing that Patterson scored, but what's your opinion in seeing them in the starting lineup?
Again, as a page, we made it a point just to talk purely about what the club had stated. We never spoke about the players. When I was on the True Blue podcast again, we made the decision of we will discuss what the club's released. We're not going to talk about the players. We're not going to say who did this or Jimmy down the road told me this story or that story. It's like the club's dealing with it. I think you're right about Jones and Edmondson. I think the plan was the two of them were to go out on loan, but I also think there was a lot more going behind the scenes with those two, to the point where I think Gerrard wanted to kind of see them go away on loan for a bit. Also, as well as there's a point of, do you want to make a stance or do you want to win? And I think what Steven Gerrard done was they've done their 10 days isolation, and I've no got. And I think maybe if Tavernier was fit, if Arfield was firing all cylinders, if Jack was back and Roof was there, then it'd be a different situation. But what Gerrard made the call was, and forever how much, this was all nipped in the bud right away. It happened on a Saturday night, Sunday morning, so nobody came into training. They were off in them, so the club dealt with it and dealt with it swiftly. And you can see that the players have clearly, are truly, truly sorry for what they've done. But at the same time, I think that, again, a lot of the kind of response from the fans is, again, much like that whole scar tissue thing of, we need to get this league done. We need to get this league done. We need this league done. We need stuff done. So obviously, I made a joke about it when Patterson scored. So I put that bit from Dumb and Dumber, with the bit where he goes and up to the bike and he's like, pure. I couldn't think you got any more stupid, and you do something like this and totally redeem yourself, because that's the way I looked at it. You can have your opinion on things, but the fact is that the club's dealt with it, the manager's dealt with it, and everybody's dealt with it. And if Steven Gerrard wants them back in the team, they're going to be back in the team. Even obviously Bassey was probably the only one that never got on the field. But if you look at the goal that the penalty that Wright got, it was Zungu that won the ball, turned the man and hit the ball for him to then run through. Nathan Patterson got his goal, so they all made a direct impact in the game. And again, at the end of the day, regardless of your personal opinions of people on and off the field, it's about winning. And obviously in other podcasts, I'm a big fan of American sports, and a lot of players have all got a lot of really kind of serious off-field issues. But
yeah,
the as they don't call them the team, the organisation as they call them, it's about winning. It's about winning, and that's what they care about. Like the case in point with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers winning the Super Bowl, the guy Antonio Brown, at the start of the season, he was an absolute pariah in the league. But Tom Brady was like, no, we need that guy to win. and then they go off and win the Super Bowl. So
the Super Bowl, yeah.
Yeah, so people's personal opinions, like at the end of the day, if the coach and everybody else is like, nah, do you know what, that guy's made a mistake, but he's the guy. You know, like the case in point, you know, we're all fawning over Alfredo Morelos today, but then obviously there's large parts of the fans, like you hear like people I talk to have used the term of Alfredo Morelos as a player you can't, unreliable. He's a very unreliable player. Like he does these things and this all happens and stuff like that. But that's just what you've got to do to have somebody like Alfredo Morelos on your side. He is that guy. You're never going to change him. He's that bubble and pop. As long as the lid stays on and it bubbles, everything's great. If the lid comes off, all bets are off.
I totally get it. I touch wood, I'm no jinxes, but this shouldn't be an issue again. Surely if it's happened twice, we're not going to get any more. But with that whole ethos of it's all about winning, and I absolutely get that, at what point do you draw the line? Because if it is all about winning, then that does create a bit of a culture where you have the Barry Ferguson, who, you know, Barry Ferguson was the most talented midfielder at both spells at Rangers at the time. But the line was set that he wouldn't get away with everything. The line was drawn. So I think the question is, at what point do you draw the line? Because I don't think if Greg Stewart went to some sort of party a couple of weeks ago, he wouldn't be on the bench for Rangers again. But because it's Patterson Zungu, they have a role to play, then that's okay. It almost encourages, if you're a more talented football player, then you know that not all the same rules apply. And I'm probably turning something into nothing, but I'm just, when you said Morelos, I've been giving Morelos petals this season because he is so frustrating. I think there has to be a line that gets drawn, and not just with the COVID, with any sort of behavioural issues.
I think the same as well as with Gerrard himself. Gerrard himself last season, a lot of people could say that COVID saved Gerrard because after that loss to Hamilton, you know, and the loss to Hearts away and stuff like that, there was people were calling for his head, but right now he's the guy, and he's absolutely, and that's the thing. It's like everybody's constantly learning and everybody's constantly growing, and nobody's an expert at anything. That's the whole point of life. We're just learning as we go, and we're making it up as we go along. Everybody makes mistakes, and if these guys have made a mistake, obviously, if, like, you know, let's just say they decide to meet some girl on the internet and fly to Spain and then fly back and play in a game, or say they met some girl on the internet and flew a girl from America to come and stay with them for 2 weeks, you know, or take an injured player to the Middle East and then
for a pint.
Something happens. You know, like that's different level. The fact is that, you know, we're all dealing with COVID. We're all dealing with these like little bubbles and stuff like that. Like pure, you know, you're not supposed to be interacting with each other outside and stuff like that. Then that's fair enough. But in terms of this because again I made a joke of, it was like a guy smashing up a computer, and I was like, Celtic fans emailing UEFA about how Patterson got a game and all this sort of stuff, you know, and it's like, but again, it's like, you know, unless you know what's going on behind the scenes, everybody's got different levels of equity built up in the bank. You know, like Alan McGregor could go off and have an absolute howler of a game, but he's done so much that you're kind of like,
yeah.
Do you know what? I'll let you off with that. You know, like the guy's married now. You know, so obviously this nickname he's got is finished, but he's got this reputation of being a bit of a rascal and you know, big McGregor. But again, you know, but he's a good goalkeeper. You know, like Paul Gascoigne had his troubles off the field, but on the field, you know, it's just. I think that again that we're in this kind of really, everybody's in their house, everybody's on social media, everybody's blowing everything up more than it is. It's just the fact is that the club dealt with it. The club's told them all to go away for 10 days. They've passed the 10 days. If I don't think they would have ever broke the 10-day isolation rule to bring them back in the team. But literally, they're ready, and they've probably turned around and said to them, see, while you're away, this is what you used to do for 10 days, so stay fit. It's not like they've went home and sat in their arse and played video games, you know? And I think, but again, like we're talking about like scar tissue and stuff like that, that's the thing. Everybody just wants to get this over the line. Everybody just, it's just this pure, it has to finish. This has, you know, I can't believe that it's real until you physically see James Tavernier hold that trophy.
Oh, I can't wait for that day, mate. I'm longing for that day. I'm desperate for it. And I suppose we've just got to put it down to and Gerrard be trusting and the club be trusting they're making the right decisions for the club. And last night, Patterson's come on and he scored that goal and he's redeemed himself. I mean, you can't really take it away from the boy. He was on the park for about 15, 16 seconds, whatever it was, and he's buried it and he's put Rangers in total control of that game. But obviously, Chris, you'd mentioned Alfredo Morelos, and Ali, I'll come to you now, and we'll wax lyrical a wee bit about Alfredo last night. He was truly unplayable.
Oh, that's the word, unplayable. I mean, he was back to his best, Morelos, last night. I mean, those defenders didn't know how to deal with Morelos. I thought the first 20 minutes, him and Kent, the link-up play with the two of them was brilliant. I thought his hold-up play was brilliant. He's a terror up there. You don't know how to deal with him. And the front three interchange quite a lot, so he drags centre-halves out, creates space for Kent and Hadji, and runners like Aribo will go in behind. He's a nightmare to play against, and when we lost him for the 3 games and we had Itten up front and I think was it Roof up front at one point, you knew Morelos wasn't in the team. I just think he brings so much to Rangers, and I know you can say he's been frustrating this year. He's not scored as many goals. I just think he's more of a team player this year, Morelos, than previously. Last season we relied on Morelos' goals. This season we don't. Look where the goals come from. All over the park, the goals come with Rangers now. So, but last night, he was brilliant. And I think, Scotia gave him man of the match in our pod for the first leg as well. And we gave it to Barisic, Scarney, and I probably actually agree with Scotia as well on the first leg. Actually, looking back at it, because he assisted in all 4 goals. He was involved last night again. He's coming back into form. And obviously we go to the other side of the city in 3 games' time, and I would just love it for him to score the winner that just sinks them to win the title. And it's the one thing I really, really want with Morelos. And even last night we got the wee 50-second interview with Alfie last night, which was a good one by Rangers. I mean, I'm still thinking it was a voiceover because he had the face mask on. So it was a voiceover, but it was because all we've heard for Alfie, we spoke today. All we've heard for Alfie is "We are the people, Merry Christmas," sound bites from him basically. So to actually listen to him last night, it's like he can't actually speak English, all right. But no, he's coming into his own, Morelos, at the moment now, and he was outstanding last night. He really was, and I think he'll kick on the rest of the season and really he'll start to score a lot of goals as well now.
Yeah, I think he was actually playing on how much English he actually knows as well. He's no daft, Morelos. He knows fine well. He's not a silly boy. Do you know what I mean?
It's only Instagram lives he does sometimes.
He fully understands.
When he's on that.
He fully understands English. He knows exactly what he's talking about.
I think the thing you're saying that as well about Morelos is like having players like for the last 2 seasons, we've had Morelos in this absolute purple patch of goals from the start of the season up to Christmas time, and it falls away. And the player that I keep on bringing up is when Walter Smith was there, Kyle Lafferty. Kyle Lafferty was hopeless till the last 3 months of the season. And then he would just turn up and absolutely just destroy teams. And that's the thing, is like okay, obviously you've got teams that'll be that's the guy. So Barcelona, it's all about Messi and then it's all about Neymar and Ronaldo and Lewandowski and all these sort of guys. But we don't have that guy. And I think the big thing happened this year is the fact is that everybody's taken their turn to step up to the plate. Tavernier went on a rampage and scored loads of goals. He scored an absolute stunner of a free kick and stuff like that. Barisic has chipped in. Was it they're saying as well that Goldson scored more league goals than Lee Griffiths this season?
Has he really?
He has, aye.
Odd, man. That
Exactly.
tells you can everything.
Exactly. So you've got him, and it's stuff like that I'm starting to going. I love the fact that Kamara scored that goal. So now in my head, I'm sitting there going, who's no scored? I was like, Balogun's no scored. So see, when we go up to corners, I'm like, I'd love it if Balogun scored because I want everybody to get a goal. I want everybody to have that moment. Obviously, again, we bounced this about. It was Mourinho's first season at Chelsea, and they got to the last game of the season. I think they were like winning a game by a mile, and they gave a penalty to Claude Makelele, and he scored it, and he never scored all season. And Mourinho and the bench all went absolutely berserk because he scored it. So in my head, I'm sitting there going, we're going to be 2-0 up against Celtic. We're going to get a penalty, and we're going to turn around, and Alan McGregor's going to walk up to the penalty. And everybody's just going to go, there we go. This is it. This is it. This is going to be amazing.
That would be something else, mate. That would be. I can't even think about that because I would love that so much. Colin, is it written in the stars for Morelos to score number 55 at Parkhead? To win 55 even?
Aye, it has to be. It has to be. But you know what I'm quite gutted about? See his goal against Dundee United. That one happens once in a blue moon. That's the kind of goal I'd want him to show at Parkhead. Just it comes off the back of his arse and totally unmeant, and we just have it hanging over their heads forever. Morelos scored the goal against you, and it's a pure shite goal. But it's
look at Chris Boyd. Chris Boyd. He's one goal against Celtic. He shinned it.
Aye, exactly. And just having that hang over their head, I would have loved that to have against Celtic. But you know what? See, even if he doesn't, I'm never going to accept the argument that Morelos isn't a good player because he's not scored against Celtic. It's an absolute nonsense. Like, he's been phenomenal this year, and what Chris was saying there about everybody else chipping in, this isn't new. What Morelos is doing, obviously he's done it at a higher level, but see all this coming in deep, supporting the midfield, turning players, going out wide. He's done that the last 2 years, but he just didn't have the support. Yes, he's taking it up to another level, but everybody else is now supporting him, and he's another one. It's just they all do. They just deserve to go and lift that trophy. But if he can, I don't know, if Tavernier can take a long throw and Morelos isn't looking, it hits off his arse and goes past Barkas, that's the perfect goal for me.
We're training pigeons at Ibrox as well, mate. So they'd also be seeing him on the pitch. So an assist from a pigeon would be good. I think I would enjoy that one.
Not the first time it would have happened. Not the first time.
I know, not the first time. Is this to add to the long list of conspiracy theories this season?
Yes, of course, mate. There's so many. Again, that's about 4 pods, mate. The length of conspiracies. Mason pigeons now, I think, is the biggest one that we're getting stuck into now. So, but yeah, I mean, Rangers performed admirably last night. 5-2. It was just one of the games again. I don't know what it is about Rangers in Europe. Sometimes the games seem to go a bit crazy. So, and obviously leads us on to the draw today. Rangers got Slavia Prague. Chris, I'll come to you first. Do you fancy our chances?
I fancy our chances against anybody. I don't like.
As the draw was getting made, mate, I just went and picked up my missus. Actually, sorry to cut you off, mate. I just picked up my missus from work, and I was coming back, and I had it on YouTube, going through my car. And I was listening, and I was like, as the teams were coming out, Rangers were still not mentioned. Then Man U were mentioned, and I was like, oh, it's written in the stars to get Man United, and then it didn't happen. And then it's Slavia Prague, and I'm like, well, it's not bad. Like, do you know what I mean? That's not bad. So, what do you think? You think Rangers will do all right?
I think, yeah, I do. I think the fact is as well is like, is Brendan Rodgers going to help out Gerrard to try and give us some inside scope? You know, obviously now all the Leicester, he came out the day and took the blame for how they performed, and a lot of Leicester fans aren't happy. But he's got them playing some really really cool football, and you know, playing a sort of way. He's a very, very good manager. So I'd hope that his relationship with Gerrard, he can kind of give us a bit of an inside track. But I think that's the other thing as well, is what we're talking about, the players being well drilled and well coached. I don't think that we are so prepared for every team we play against. You know, in terms of like the moment this draw was made, you know that the coaching staff will be watching DVDs of everything about this club and everything that they could possibly do and every possible threat they could possibly offer us. So yeah. Obviously, again, I think the fact that everyone's like, oh, they want a big glamour tie, but the whole point of a big glamour tie is to go away to the games. So if we can't go to the games, why do you want a big glamour tie? Obviously, I think everybody's all pure gutted because they're going to miss a big session in Prague. And obviously, everyone's all trying to figure out, how do I get to Prague? Can I drive to Prague? Do I have to get a COVID jag to go to Prague? And that's that. I think that's the one more than anything else. In terms of the club, I'd want us to watch us play anybody. And you know what? If we were to come up against a side, and like we did last season, come up against a side like Bayer Leverkusen and come up against a side and going, there we go, that's our level. That team was just too good for us. And that's how you learn. Like you don't want to turn around and go, oh, we get beat by Bayer Leverkusen. Bayer Leverkusen were a phenomenal team. They won the mugs. So, and for us, and I think the fact is our coaching staff have probably looked at them and went, look how they play, look at it, and it's, we've learnt from it, and it's benefited us, whereas other people see a defeat as in like, oh no, it's the worst thing that's ever happened. It is what it is. But again, that's just me.
Colin, you fancy your chance against Slavia Prague, mate?
It's that cliche. You don't get any easy ties at this level. You don't get any easy games. But Groningen, they're a decent mob. They put out Leicester, so Rangers will have to be at it. But there's every chance that, well, not every chance. I'm confident if Rangers play at their absolute best and set up right, we can go through. I like what Chris said there about the testing your level. I wanted a Man U at Arsenal because I wanted to see how Rangers put up against an English team, because I don't think maybe out with the top 2 or 3, but I don't think England's all it's made up to be. But maybe we can get one of them in the quarterfinals. Who knows? Watch this space.
Fingers crossed. Ali, what's your thoughts against Slavia Prague?
I was the same as Colin. I desperately wanted an English team, and when it was getting, obviously when Man United came out, I was please Man United. My boss, obviously I work for an English company, he's a Man United fan, so I was desperate to get them, but wasn't to be. But I think they're a decent mob, Slavia Prague. There's no mugs in the last 16. They're unbeaten in their league, I've seen today, just like us. So yeah, I think they'll be a decent mob. I know they get put out in the Champions League qualifiers by Midtjylland, who we obviously beat previous season, but no, I fancy Rangers against anyone in Europe at the moment, to be honest. And I think they took their 2 goals against Leicester really well.
Yeah, really well.
And I think that's the big thing that stuck out. It was obviously Leicester are we're in this kind of group of this kind of new generation of managers of this high press Bielsa style football. And this is what everybody all wants to play, and we're one of these clubs. And I think Leicester, again, Brendan Rodgers is definitely a kind of a disciple of Bielsa, like Guardiola and all these people. And so I think that to get caught in the break, I think the big difference is that we've got players that are waiting to get back and defend as well. So but again,
I hope we take our lessons from Benfica. So talk about finding a level. I think in both ties at Benfica, there was bits where we were quite lucky to get away with the draw, but in other points we're kind of unlucky to win the game. So I think there's so much in the Benfica games. We've done so much, played so well, and going forward, but our defensive aspects and losing our shape and switching off, we need to learn a lot for that. So I think if we learn the mistakes for there, we'll be fine.
The way I looked at it as well is like the way how we played against Benfica. If that was the last 32, we'd have went through.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I know. Yeah, but my opinion on the next opposition, Slavia Prague, is fear no foe. I don't mind who it is. Just let's come give a go if you think you're hard enough. I think we can compete with any team really left in this competition. Not saying that I think Rangers are going to win the Europa League or anything, but stranger things have happened and Rangers are looking good and we seem to be kind of hit a bit of form just now. So, gentlemen, we'll wrap up tonight. The taxis are waiting outside. It's time for us all to go home. So just first off, Chris, thank you so much for giving your time up tonight, mate, to come on to the podcast. I really appreciated it, mate.
No problem at all. I'll come on anytime. Just give me a shout.
Give your Twitter shout outs and whatever else. Rangers on tour everywhere.
Yep, Rangers on tour, everything. Just find us and we'll be there. And also as well, our website, rangersontour.co.uk, and our mental health campaign, We Are. Obviously, the reason why we've done that is because we are the champions, we are the people, and we are here to help. And that's done really well through. I think that's probably been our biggest achievement this year. Just giving people that opportunity and a space to go to, and showing that there are things out there. And that's our mission from right from the start. If we could help one person, we've already succeeded, and we've helped a lot of people. So, that's our biggest thing.
Here, mate. I'll raise a glass to that. That's a fantastic cause, mate. It's absolutely spot on. Go get to it. There's always somebody there to listen if you need to talk. Every one of us sitting right here, right now, you follow us, wherever you follow us on Twitter, Instagram, wherever you follow us. Our DMs are always open. We are always here to listen. We have to look out for each other. We don't call ourselves a Rangers family for nothing. So, well in, Chris, mate. And again, thank you for your time. Colin. Thank you very much, my friend. You'll probably be sick of the sight of me now.
No, mate, it's always a pleasure. Always a pleasure to come on and I speak about all things Rangers. I really enjoyed the night speaking to you. And
again, you're Gallant Few everywhere. YouTube, Instagram.
We spam you everywhere. YouTube, Instagram, Spotify, whatever. I'm not going to lie, if you want to listen to 4 idiots on a Skype call, come give us a follow. That's talking about the Rangers.
It's kind of the concept behind this podcast tonight, mate, to be honest. But yeah, again, mate, I really do appreciate it. And Ali Pearson, thank you. You didn't have a choice, but thank you very much, mate.
I know, it was good to do different pods with Chris and Colin. It was decent, so hopefully we can do a few more down the line and see what happens.
Yeah, we'll hopefully have you on again soon. So yeah, this has been the Lounge in Club at 22. Thank you to everybody for listening. Please like, subscribe, follow, share it anywhere that you can. We really do appreciate it. And also go follow Rangers on tour, follow the Gallant Few, real Rangers content. We're all here to support fan content. It's the way forward for us and for our club. So we'll speak to you again next time. We have been Club at 22, the Rangers podcast. Cheers. Very much, mate.
I know, it was good to do different pods with Chris and Colin. It was decent, so hopefully we can do a few more down the line and see what happens.
Yeah, we'll hopefully have you on again soon. So yeah, this has been the Lounge in Club at 22. Thank you to everybody for listening. Please like, subscribe, follow, share it anywhere that you can. We really do appreciate it. And also go follow Rangers on tour, follow the Gallant Few, real Rangers content. We're all here to support fan content. It's the way forward for us and for our club. So we'll speak to you again next time. We have been Club at 22, the Rangers podcast. Cheers.